Let me show you a picture of the guy we're fighting in Iraq, this Muqtada al-Sadr. Look at that. If this guy wanted to take a picture that suggested the idea of pure evil, could he have found a better picture? So this is the radical cleric that the Republicans should be afraid of. Here's Reverend Wright, who is Obama. Nice man. Not afraid of this man. Go back to this guy. Afraid. The cleric you should be afraid of. Not afraid. This man. There you go. Not afraid. This man. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make that point. Who's it? Yeah, exactly. And I'm just appalled at the mainstream media's treatment of this Reverend Wright. Now, based on a couple of clips on YouTube, and I'm asking you, because you deal with these subjects all the time, is this not a kind of a worse racism when the mainstream media has rallied around this, and when I say mainstream, I mean white media, I guess, rallied around this idea that Reverend Wright is a nut. They all call him a kook, he's a loony bin, he's out there. I don't know why this guy is a nut, because he says things that we don't like, because 20 seconds of him on YouTube sums up a career. Would they do that to a white person? This guy was in the Marines. No one doubts that he served this community valiantly for 30 or 40 years in Chicago. It does seem like this is a worse sort of racism than the obvious sort.
In the fine tradition of the black church, I'd say amen to everything you've just said.
Well, don't bring the church up to me.
Yeah, I know. But it's a legitimate question, and I'm glad that we get a chance to kind of unpack this tonight, because I couldn't agree more with everything you said. He has been demonized. He has been thrown under the bus. And I mentioned earlier, I want to come back to this Douglas definition of patriot. A true patriot is a lover of his country who rebukes and does not excuse its sins. When you look at what Jeremiah Wright had to say, and look at it in context, Jeremiah Wright, many Americans don't understand, is standing in a Kingian tradition. 1 week from tonight, we will commemorate the 40th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King.
Who never would have said those things.
No, wrong. He did say those things. Let me explain. He did say those things.
Well, he certainly, maybe not publicly.
Not publicly. Let's straighten this out. Publicly.
But he wasn't saying it publicly either. He was in his church.
Well, that's publicly. That's public enough. But King found, as he always did, a love language to express himself. But everybody wants to cast Martin King as a dreamer. Martin King, as you know, came out and gave a speech called Why I'm Opposed to Vietnam. And in that speech, he talked about God's judgment on America. He talked about America being arrogant. This is King, who we love so much and revere and have the holiday and cast as a dreamer. He talked about an arrogant America. He talked about God's judgment on America. And he said these words at the time, that the U.S. is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. The minute he said that, he fell off the list of the most admired Americans. In 1967, they disinvited him to the White House. Here's a guy who in 64 and 65 helped Lyndon Johnson sign the Voting Rights and Civil Rights Act. In 67, a couple of years later, they disinvite him from the White House. In 68, they shoot him dead. Part of being a patriot means to stand as a truth teller and say what's got to be said.
I want to quote here from Pat Buchanan's column. Pat's been a guest on our show. Pat's a happy warrior. You can't hate him.
He's a racial arsonist.
But he is a racist.
He's a racial arsonist.
Listen to what he says. Now he quotes Barack Obama from his speech a couple of weeks ago when Barack Obama said that we have to acknowledge what ails the African-American community and that it doesn't just exist in the minds of black people. Here's Pat Buchanan's answer. He says, America has been the best country on earth for black folks. No people anywhere has done more to lift up blacks than white Americans. Welfare, food stamps, rent supplements, Section 8 housing. I guess that's for crazy people, a Section 8. That's astounding to me that someone would say in 2000, what?
You see that other thing he said? He said they came over 40,000 of them,
yes.
600,000 in slave ships, like it was a princess cruise. And they were introduced to Christian
salvation.
That's an Ann Coulter job.
And reached the greatest level. Right. They came over here. Look, I'm Irish. My ancestors did not have cushy plantation jobs waiting for them. How much time
to the point we made earlier about the double standard. How much time is the mainstream media going to spend castigating, dissecting, digging into, taking to task Pat Buchanan for being the kind of racial arsonist that he is, for stoking the fire? Only on this show have I heard any in-depth conversation, the kind we're having now, about what Buchanan said that is so far beyond the pale. It's nonsense. And the thing that hit me earlier today, Pat is not just a racial arsonist, but he's kind of politically schizophrenic. Isn't this the same fool that in 2000, as the Reform Party candidate, had a black woman as his running mate named Zola Foster? So which side of this are you on? What troubles me, this goes back to what Bill said a moment ago, what troubles me is that Jeremiah Wright gets dismissed as being cuckoo, as being crazy, being anti-American, and now we want to poo-poo Pat Buchanan's comments. Oh, it's just Pat Buchanan. He's, that doesn't work. If you're going to go after Jeremiah Wright in the way they've gone after him, let's dissect what Buchanan has said. And I'm telling you, the mainstream media is not going to do that. They're not going to.